since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead.
Oh, thank you so much for being with us on your favorite dial, talking about Unity 93.3 FM and of course Unity TV. Beatrice Adamoiji is my name, and this morning is a lovely Wednesday morning, the 13th of September 2023. In the studio this morning, I have my one-on-one brother and of course an in-house analyst. He is, of course, a political scientist. Mr. Shaibu Doro is in the studio. Shaibu Doro, it's good to have you.
Yeah, good morning, Colby. Good morning, viewer and listener. It's a pleasure being here once again. We look forward to an interesting interaction. As usual, you're welcome.
Yes, we're looking forward to an interesting interaction. But of course, that is not without you. That segment with which you will come in is coming, and is that which we cannot wait to get there. But in the meantime, just stay tuned. Of course, the first segment of this Unity trend, like we all know, is that segment with which we get to discuss issues as we have them on our national dailies. And today is not an exception. We're doing it just like we've always been doing it. And so let's go to our headlines and pick one or two and see how we can explore issues around them. And today we are beginning with the which is contained on the Daily Trust. Shabu?
Yes.
I have this in asthma. I say our politicians, have been advised. And so I want to believe it's for a good one. And this one on the Daily Trust says, politician advice to reset Nigeria with Zik Awolowo's legacies. Yes, it's time for us to go back to see what happened in the past and what it is today. If there's anything we have, gotten it wrong, let's see how people would say, let's go back to the drawing board. I think it's a call for going back to the drawing board.
Definitely.
Why not?
Definitely. We do need to, like Prof. Sabo would say, we need to go back to those sweet old days. And all of that. I think if you look at Nigeria today, you see a radical departure, from what obtained in the past, politically, economically, socially, and what have you, and we will not be advocating for, it's the 21st century, it's been over 60 years of independence, and all of that. Lots of things have actually changed, in the economic, political and social landscapes, of the country and all of that. So we can't expect to be living, the sort of life that we actually did live, 60 years ago, right? But again, when you look at the history, of the country, where the country came from and where the country is at the moment, you sometimes can't help but wish, we could replicate, some of the things of those days, and all of that. This is the issue. I think that is what informed the call by Sheikh Abdul Qadir Adisa, who was speaking, I think, in Kwara State, during a special Friday prayer, in honor of the new clerk of the Kwara State House of Assembly. I think this was what informed this call by Sheikh Abdul Qadir Adisa. This is the issue. But of course, the question, that one will naturally be tempted to ask will be, what were those legacies of, Zik, Dr. Inamdi Azikiwe of blessed memory, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa of blessed memory, and then, of course, Obafemi Awolowo of blessed memory, the Sardona of, the Sardona himself, Abu Ahmed Ahmadu Bello, and all of that. These are the issues. And even when we sing in the national anthem that the heroes of our, the labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain, I think these are the people we actually talking about.
It shall never be in vain.
Shall never be in vain.
So today, I want to believe you'll be telling us if
it's been in vain or not. Well, we shall get to see as the discussion, as we carry on with the discussion. But of course, like I did say in my preamble, I think if you look at the past, where the country came from and where the country is at the moment, you actually see a radical departure, right?
You begin to wonder what we
tend to have now is virtually, a sort of a standard deviation, from the sort of foundation, that our four founding fathers had actually laid for us. It's sort of a deviation from the sort of Nigeria, that our founding fathers had actually looked forward to, and all of that. Of course, we do concede, or we do admit that these founding fathers actually did have their own shortcomings. Talking about, Tafe Balewa, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, and all of that. But of course, I think the biggest legacy for which they will continue to be remembered is the fact that they actually, at a point, decided to put aside, primordial affiliations and actually, rise in unison to fight for the country's independence, and all of that. When you talk about nationalism, or the anti-colonial struggles, or all of that, what readily comes to mind are those names, right? Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, and all of that. And so I think for just that, for just deeming it fit and necessary to fight for the country's independence, regardless of, their, primordial differences and all of that, I think it's something for which the country will continue to actually, remember them. And not just that, you can see, it was a huge sacrifice because, some of them had to, at some point, suffer, few days of incarceration and all of that. So, in other words, some of them had to spend, few days in prison and all of that, for daring to challenge the colonial authority, and all of those issues. And of course, they did have their own, disputes and disagreements here and there over issues and all of that.
But that was not to
but
let
it didn't
down
deter them. It didn't
the
derail
effort of national
beautiful.
unity.
It did not derail the collective agenda of actually, fighting against, the colonial authority that had literally or practically subjected citizens to, slavery, and all of that. This is the issue. And so without them today, we probably wouldn't be talking about an independent Nigeria, or be celebrating, independence on the 1st of October, of every year and all of that. These are the issues. Of course, like I did say, they had their own shortcomings. A lot of times people will normally talk about, the divisive nature, of politicking, in post-colonial Nigeria, starting from the First Republic where, we had, ethnically or regionally based political parties, the Action Group, founded, and overseen by Obafemi Awolowo, which I was actually christened a strictly Yoruba party. And then, of course, the NCNC, founded and overseen by Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, christened, strictly an Igbo party. And then, of course, you had the, the NPC, Northern People's Congress, which, of course, was also founded by the Sardona, Amadou Bello, and overseen by him, and all of that, and so, as a debut site of these, heroes of the country, these founding fathers of the country, the country became, sort of divided along ethnic and religious lines as a result of, the divisive nature of politicking, after independence, and all of those issues. And so, you could say that, because of that, you could say, and of course, if we talk about even the divisive nature of politicking today, the severity, or the, persistence of, ethnic or religious bigotry, we sometimes, are tempted to attribute it to, what obtained, immediately after independence and all of that. But having said that, I think we will continue to remember them as heroes. We will continue to remember them as people who actually laid a very solid foundation for the country, at the expense of their own, interests, at the expense of their own selves, at the expense of their well-being, and all of those issues. And of course, talking about even the Sardona the Amadou Bello, the Sardona himself, of course, he's somebody who has continued to be remembered as a proactive, as a pragmatic, as a Pan-African leader, and all of that. He's somebody who has continued to be remembered as a, the most accommodating, the most detribalized, the most dereligionized leader, that the country has ever had, and all of that. I do remember, at some point, when the Sardauna himself was telling a story, about how he came to be, and all of that, and certain experiences he had with the country and all of that. He was actually narrating that at some point he went shopping. He went, to one of the states, I think in Lagos or somewhere, to actually win the shop. And then while doing that, he actually came across some Nigerian students, and all of that. One a Muslim and the other, a Christian. And then he decided to, foot, the bills of all the students whom he had actually met, in the supermarket and all of that. And then after doing that, one of his aides was sort of asking him, why would you pay for all the students regardless of their affiliations? Some of them were Christians, the others were actually Muslims. Why did
from different regions?
Why did you decide to foot their bills regardless of that difference? And then the Sardauna was like, I don't want you to ever say this again, because those are actually my children. They are Nigerians. They are my children.
That they are Nigerians, it settles everything.
The fact that they are either Muslims or Christians is not supposed to matter. This is the issue. And so I think we could say that was the type of person that Sardauna was.
And it's like it's a legacy you want to emphasize.
That is what I'm talking about. I'm giving all these stories just to sort of put the whole issue in perspective. And so when you talk about the legacies of these people and the need to actually replicate that in the Nigeria of today, I think it's something we cannot overemphasize, especially given the fact that at the moment the country seems to lack has to have lost its bearing. The country seems to lack a moral compass. The country seems to be in their need of people who could actually, bring it together, build big bridges, mend fences, bring people together, and actually chart a common cause, for the millions of people that populate, its geographical space and all of that. So I think the call is quite timely, but of course it does remain to be seen, what we actually do with that. This is the issue. Like we did say, I think sometimes last week when we were discussing issues having to do with Nigeria and all of that, we did say that, the country has, myriads of challenges here and there, whether they are economic or political or social and all of that. But I think there are basics. There are things that need to be fixed at the moment, to be able to set the country, on the path of development. First of all, you need to be able to unite people, bring people together, give people a sense of belonging. Like I did say, the divisive nature of politicking in Nigeria is what is killing the country. This is the issue. And I think sometimes even, when we talk about inability to hold leaders accountable and all of that, I think part of the problems is the fact that, I think we don't approach issues, from a common or a collective perspective. This sense of commonality, or togetherness seems to have actually been lost. This is the issue. And so if there's insecurity in northern Nigeria, people from the southern part of the country see it as strictly a northern problem and not a Nigerian problem. If there is a problem, of maybe militancy, or something of that nature in the southern part of the country, northerners actually don't see it as a Nigerian problem. They see it as strictly a southern problem. So we have continued to actually view our common challenges from the prism of religion or region or ethnicity and all of these issues.
And coming back to Plateau, Mr. Doro, it's just like we have it. It has been we have security issues. Along the recent one that we have them, Mangu and the Riom and other local governments on the Plateau. Now you are saying that. It becomes a problem when it's happening in Mangu and every other person
is aloof. It's
not my problem. It's the Mangu people, the Mangu people's problem. It's the resident people who are in Mangu local government. It's their problem.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, now, and that's a good intervention. Thank you very much. How many people, for example, from other local governments are condemning what is happening, in Mangu local government, and how many people, from the southern part of the country are condemning, or lamenting the insecurity in the northern part of the country, and how many northerners are lamenting, the militancy and the other, challenges in the southern part of the country. This is the issue. So you see, and I think that is not the sort of legacy, that was bequeathed to us by our founding fathers. Like I did say, yeah, they were human beings. They had their own. Even the issue of divisive politicking we are talking about, I think they only inherited a state of affairs, because already before independence the country had been sharply divided along ethnic and religious lines, as a result of certain obnoxious colonial policies, and all of those issues, right? But again, we should do something to sort of depart from that particular history, shouldn't we? I think we should. Yes. This is the issue. So I think if we're talking about replicating the legacies of our founding fathers and all of those issues, I think what should come to mind is, first of all, they need to unite the country. We understand we cannot be a country if our funeral tears do not fall on the same floor. This is the issue. That is number one. And then number two, there's need for some sort of selflessness, right? These people were selfless. Like I did say, their primordial differences didn't even matter. Their own personal or vested interests didn't even matter. They were able to chart a course for the country and all of that. How many of such people do we actually have today? Today, politics has been reduced to a commercial venture. We talk about the commercialization of politics and all of that. People now see politics as a route to wealth. I mean, when Yakubu Gowon left office as head of state, he didn't even own a personal house. When Sardauna also, was killed in Lagos, he didn't even have a private property and all of those issues. And when Abubakar Tafawa Balewa actually died, also as a result of assassination and all of that, how many, naira, I mean, how much money did he have in his account and all of that? How many pairs of clothes did he even have? He didn't even own a car and things like that. He was a very conservative, and the most modest person you can ever imagine. Right. How many Nigerians are willing to toe that path? Okay. These are the issues, and so I think we can go on and on that. But of course, there are other issues to look at. Okay,
let's look at this one. This one is coming from Vanguard. It says 2023 budget in danger as crude oil output crashes by 470,000 barrels per day. Now, we're a country that we depend so much on oil, and here there's a call that this is perceived to have, go through, is described as danger.
Definitely.
So how dangerous?
Well, of course, it's dangerous. Could be. I mean, the survival of a country depends on how much money it has, isn't it? Yeah. I think that's the reality. Everyone knows that. You have to have money to be able to address emerging and recurrent.
And even to have more money, you have to have money to have more money.
You have thank you. That's beautiful. You have to have money to have more money because money begets money, doesn't it? Like the HAUSA person will say, the and all of that. So I think I love that addendum. It's a beautiful one. You need money to be able to make more money, right? Yes. And you can see, like we did say, Nigeria is oil dependent, isn't it? It's a monocultural economy, like experts will say, an economy that is dependent almost solely on one source of revenue. So anytime anything happens to that sort of revenue, the country is in trouble and all of that. Even when we talk about the recession that the country suffered, I think was it in 2019. Experts did point experts did identify the monocultural nature of the economy as one of the reasons that actually threw the country into recession and things like that. And even when we were discussing those issues then, and even as we still discuss similar issues now, our call has been the same. And let the country find ways to diversify income, just so that we can either forestall or at least mitigate the consequences of some of these unpredictable economic circumstances and all of that. Now back to the issue.
Yes.
The 2023 budget, like according to the headline, is in danger as a result of a drastic fall in in the quantity of oil that the country produces on daily basis
compared to what it has been
and
before.
Compared to what obtained before now. And that is dangerous because, like I did say, we need money to survive. The country needs money to solve, citizens' problems, right? And so what the country, targets for this particular fiscal year, 2023, is 21 point something trillion. That is what the country is looking forward to. But that is on the basis of, 1.69, million barrels per day. You understand?
Yes.
And of course, 92 point something, dollars, of each barrel, of oil. This is the issue. In other words, the country is targeting, 21 trillion as what it intends to, or it hopes to be able to generate from the sales of oil for this particular year. But that is only if it is able to, sell, each barrel of oil, at 92 point something dollar. You understand? That is the issue. And when it is also able, or if it is also able to, produce as much as 1.69 million barrels per day, you understand, over, this particular fiscal year, this is the issue. And so with this report now about the country losing 470,000 barrels per day, right, from August till now, I think it's scary, isn't it? Because it then actually means that the country will not be able to make as much as it had looked forward to. You understand? And if there is a shortfall in the quantity of oil produced per day, inevitably there will be a shortfall in the country's expected revenue for a particular fiscal year. This is the issue. According to reports, with the country losing 470,000 barrels per day, right? And with each barrel of oil, going for, I think, 92 point something, dollar, I think it actually means that, within the period under review, the country will have lost the country will be losing about 43, $million per day. That is about 32 billion, in naira, if you go by the current exchange rate and things like that. This is the issue. And so, if the country loses 32 billion naira, on daily basis, over maybe a 2 or 3 months period, how much does that amount to? It's a lot of money. And so, the fear now is that the country may not be able to generate as much as 21 trillion naira as it had expected. That is number one. And then number two, because of the inevitable shortfall in income as a result of this development, the country will be compelled to explore alternative sources of actually generating revenue. This is the issue. And you and I know, even when we talk about removal of subsidy, and the economic consequences it has had on citizens and things like, I think one of the reasons governments sometimes find it expedient or compelling to remove subsidy is the fact that government is in desperate or dire need of money, right? and because the money is not there, because the sources of revenue are not actually diverse, right? Because government revenue options are sort of skewed or limited or restricted. Government sometimes is compelled to fall back on citizens. This is the issue. And so government will tell you, we spend 400 billion naira on monthly basis to subsidize oil, and then over a period of a year it is trillions of naira and things like that, which government cannot sustain and all of that. So we have to remove subsidy. But if, for example, the government had alternative sources of revenue, right? Spending 1 trillion naira, or more than that, over a period of 3, 4, 5 months, to subsidize fuel shouldn't even be a big deal, as long as that is actually being done in the interest of the economic well-being of citizens. It shouldn't be a big deal. But because government sources of income, are actually skewed or limited or restricted, sometimes it has to fall back on some of these tough economic decisions and things like that, with citizens always being at the receiving end and all of these issues. So at the end of the day, I think it's a very scary one. And of course, according to experts and of course the report we've been able to analyze this morning, the 470,000 barrels of oil being lost on daily basis is actually as a result of oil theft. right? Stealing of oil or crude oil by, hoodlums and criminal-minded citizens and all of those issues. This is what is happening, right? And so it then actually means that the onus is in government to find ways to address oil theft. Right?
Yeah, this has been on for many years.
It's gone on for years. And you see, what makes it even such hard not to crack, or such a dicey situation could be, is the fact that allegedly there are some high-ranking citizens
involved
who have a hand in this dastardly, shameful, and unpatriotic, act. This is the issue.
Doro, we can go on, but I think it would be good if we just take this for a minute, because we have 2 minutes to be out of this segment.
So we'll
yes, and this one say, well, you might just cap it up with this one, and it says it's from The Nation. It says a federal government determined to raise sectors domestic financing, and is credited to Shetima. What can we say around this in 2 minutes?
Yeah, well, it's a good thing if the country is looking at ways to improve, financing for the health sector, right? At the end of the day, like we always say, health is wealth, isn't it? Without health, there's no wealth, isn't it? So that's the issue. And I think that if you look at the country's health profile, it's not actually, it's a far cry from what it should be, right? Professor Sabo was here just a few days ago, and he was actually, I think he raised a lot of issues that actually have to do with the systemic challenges that have, that have actually, sort of undermined the health sector and impeded its effective operation, and all of that. First of all, for example, what even goes to the health sector as budget is nothing to write home about. It took, President Buhari, I think, then President Buhari, before he left office, actually, increased, a health budget to, I think, 1.something trillion, which was the highest, in many years, right? But despite that, of course, tangibly, we don't see any commensurate, a result and all of that. And so, I think if the vice president is saying there's a need to, raise or up, health financing to a reasonable level, I think it's something that is quite commendable. Like I did say, at the moment, how many doctors does the country even have? And if you don't have money, I don't even see how you can effectively train, doctors and all of that. This is the issue. Right. According to report, from 1960 till date, the country has trained about 80,000 doctors, but only 30,000 or 24,000 are currently in the country. As a result of which, the health, the patient-doctor ratio is now 1 to 10,000, which is, in sharp contrast to the WHO's, benchmark of, I think, 1 to 600. Okay. Ordinarily, every doctor should have not more than 600 patients at his disposal. But what we have is maybe 5 times or 10 times more than that. It's not acceptable. And then not just that, you see the primary healthcare centers, which we will need to also, revive or maybe, reconstruct and all of that. According to some reports, the country has 30,000 primary healthcare centers, but only 10% of them are working or operational at the moment. That is also, a serious problem. There are a whole lot of issues that need to be looked at. And so raising the health budget is something that I think is welcome at this point.
Thank you very much, Mr. Doro, for taking us on a ride, looking at issues as we have them on our National Daily, our viewer, and of course our listener. At this point, we have come to the end of this segment. Stay tuned as the next segment continues after this short time out. Thank you.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead. How's your taxpayer mansion? How was your...
Please pay attention. It starts from the foundation. Everybody needs somebody. Everybody needs some love. You turn a blind eye and care nothing less. Say it's just business, all about the money. You are so unbothered as long as they pay. Say it's just business, all about the money. business to run. So you look away the other way.
It concerns you. It kill love, it kill dreams. It land people for jail. War against drug abuse.
Unity. Unity TV.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead. How's your taxpayer mansion? How was your... Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead. How's your taxpayer mansion? How was your... Mr.
So much for staying tuned to Unity 93.3 FM. Today is Wednesday, the 13th of September 2023, and this segment is that segment with which we bring up our topic and then we discuss at length. And we have a guest in the studio. Before I introduce the guest, of course, remember my name remains Beatrice Adamu Eji. Could be if you like. And in the studio, an in-house analyst remains, and together we'll be doing this. I'm talking about Mr. Shaibu Doro. Good morning.
Thank you, Kobe. Good morning, viewer and listener. Thank you for staying tuned.
Yes, of course, it is the pride of parents to have their children schooled, even though there's no certainty of having a job after graduating. This is because education means so much more than just getting a job. Yes, when you are educated, you become analytical. And so, in the studios of Unity 93.3 FM this morning, and of course, Unity TV, I am honored to have Professor Proveno H. Bameyi, Dean Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, University of Jos, a public and current affairs analyst. I choose to call him that one person who remains unshakable, believing that Nigeria and of course Africa will be better and better again. And so he is in the studio this morning. And so if you don't mind, I will say good morning.
Good morning, Kulbi. Thank you for the compliments. And good morning, listeners and viewers. It's wonderful to be here this morning. And we'll be looking at a very crucial issue that affects all of us. Because education is the bedrock of national development. And we'll be having a fantastic time this morning.
Yes, of course. Our listener and of course our viewer will be having a fantastic discussion this morning that is not without you, and so I beg that you stay tuned as the discussion goes on. The topic remains funding of education, school fees hike and matters arising. That's what we'll be discussing. And so let's begin the discussion by just Prof, maybe we start by the peaceful protest yesterday in the city of Jos, particularly in this prestigious university.
Yes. The students of the University of Jos had a peaceful protest yesterday against the hike in school fees and charges. Peaceful is relative because what you say is peaceful, others will usually hijack it. So it was peaceful, but there was a tendency that it could turn violent. So, as I'm talking this morning, The anti-riot policemen are already at the main entrance of the university. I saw them while leaving the university. They are armed, fully armed, in full, you know, let's say battle gear, whatever. They are set, and the side is a bit scary. And this is because the protest, if it continues, will have a tendency to become violent. So I want to use this opportunity to appeal to the students that there is no need to really come out to do further protests because the university management has listened to their pleas.
Yes.
In fact, I can tell you authoritatively this morning that within 24 hours, the university management has reviewed the school fees and charges downwards.
Oh, this is good news, and this is good news. And so, Prof, why don't we start by getting to know if there's a clear dichotomy between school fees and tuition fee? You know, we have this term, and sometimes we just mix them. We don't know which one stands for which, and is there any difference?
There is.
Okay.
So far in Nigerian public universities, we don't pay tuition fees.
Okay.
Tuition fees are quite high. If you're going to pay tuition fees, I was privileged to stay in different parts of the world to work and to lecture and to see what people pay as tuition fees. In one of the universities I worked as a lecturer, students pay $3,000 a semester. And of course there are Nigerian students there, and some of them pay as much as $3,500 to $4,000, you know, in one semester. So in a session you'll be talking about $8,000 to $10,000, and that one is even small compared to when you go to the US, the United Kingdom. You'll be paying about 3, 4, 5 times more than that. So we don't pay tuition fees here in Nigeria in public institutions. What we pay are school fees. The school fees are charges, nominal charges for accommodation, nominal charges for maybe bills to assist the university, pay a few bills, electricity bills, and water, and maybe clean the environment, and maybe to help departments and faculties. So what we pay are small nominal charges that generally people call school fees. But tuition fee means that you're going to be paying an amount that will be used, part of it, to take care of the lecturers, to maybe pay for part of their, maybe the lectures they deliver, you know, maybe, you know, some academic allowances and other things. So it will be quite an exorbitant amount that is high, if you ask me, because universities that charge tuition fees are universities that are usually self-sustaining financially, and they charge those tuition fees so that they don't need money from the government to run the universities. So Nigerian public universities, let's tell ourselves the truth, we are not paying tuition yet.
So what's your take concerning the policy that is you know, prompting some of this protest amongst the Nigerian students now?
Yes, it's really sad, could be, and listeners and viewers. This is what we've been crying about for years, that there is need to fund education in this country. I mean, we keep setting up institutions and we're not funding them. If I tell you how much they give universities to run for a whole year, how much they give vice chancellors to run universities, I mean, it's nothing to write home about. Because how do you expect universities to be run on just mega amounts that cannot even pay electricity bills of these universities?
And we have this issue.
Let me tell you, for 2 months we didn't have electricity in University of Jos. For 2 months, there was no electricity.
So the university was having to
they
rely
cut
on
off
maybe,
the light.
Okay, there was
They
no
cut
light.
off the power supply to the university because we are owing.
Yes.
We are owing, in fact, hundreds of millions. It has been accumulating, over the years, and what we do is to service it a bit, and then they restore the power supply. They just
that
restored
is
it.
a federal establishment.
That's a federal establishment. We service it. It's not the federal government. In fact, we just serviced it over the weekend, so they restored the light just over the weekend because the students are coming. We just gave a mega amount
so that
they can restore. Let me tell you authoritatively that the University of Jos pays about 30 million every month to the Jos Electricity Distribution Company. 30 million. This is electricity bill alone. Because this covers the main campus, covers the permanent site, Bauchi Road campus, and other campuses, the hostels. We have several hostels, We have Naraguta, we have Zion Hostel, the postgraduate hall, the student village, and the rest of them. So about 30 million every month goes into electricity. Now tell me, Colby, where are you going to get the 30 million from? Because the government is not going to give you that 30 million. That is why University of Maiduguri, they also had the same problem. That's why BUK had the same problem. That's why ABU had the same problem. In fact, ABU bill was settled by the federal government. Finally. Because the university could not settle it. There was no way they were going to settle that bill. Theirs was humongous. For 3 months, the great Ahmadu Bello University, the largest university in sub-Saharan Africa, was in total darkness for 3 months. The federal government had to come in and settle the bill. I wish that they would come and settle the one of
why not make that's a call, Prof.
Well, we really want to call on the federal government to at least come to the aid of other universities. They have helped ABU, but they have not helped other universities.
So why is that the case, Prof? Sir?
Because
did they have to be deliberate about it?
Because Mr. Shaibu Doro, ABU bill was huge. Let's tell ourselves the truth.
Okay.
Because the bill was about 900 million, getting to almost $1 billion. There is no way, even if you give them the next maybe 10 years, they can settle. They can't. And because of that, I think the government just felt if we don't do something, nothing is going to happen.
Yes, something will do.
So they had to come in through the Ministry of Education to help settle the bill. And of course, let's give it to ABU. ABU has a lot of people in highly placed positions all over the country. And being one of the oldest university in the country, second only to maybe University of Ibadan, that started in 1948. So with this, probably some also behind the scenes, some lobbying and other things could have gone behind the scene. So let's give it to them with the influence of ABU. They were able to get a federal government intervention. But in our own case, University of Jos, we are also big, but we are having to manage our own problem. So university funding is the main issue. That's the main problem. Universities are not adequately funded. Let me tell you, take a university like Oxford University. The budget of Oxford University, just one university, is more than the budget of all the universities in Nigeria put together and added and multiplied.
But isn't that because Oxford is Oxford, Prof, sir?
Well,
because it's one of the biggest
in
the world. And
Mr. Doro, because Oxford is Oxford.
But of course, University of Jos too is
we can learn a lot from Oxford. We can learn a lot from Cambridge. We can learn a lot from other universities. But the government doesn't want to do the same thing that was done that made these universities become big and independent and self-sustaining. The federal government wants to still be the ones that controls the universities. And that's why, as we are talking now, our salaries are from Abuja. Every funding is from Abuja. If your salary has a problem, Abuja has to be the ones to do the correction. The vice chancellor cannot do anything. The bossa cannot do anything. At best, maybe you write a letter of recommendation. But with the coming of IPPIS, everything has been centralized and is controlled by the government. They give the vice chancellors a little bit of peanuts to run the universities in a year. Do you know that University of just one as a case study? We are owing about 1 year bill for contractors to pay the cleaners that clean the university. We have about 19 contractors that are in charge of cleaning the university, and these contractors hire cleaners that do the work, and they pay them. The university has not been able to pay most of these contractors for about 1 year.
So they also couldn't pay their own
So they couldn't
workers.
pay their workers, except a few of them that have some other sources of revenue were able to pay their workers. In fact, just go around the University of Jos, you will see that the whole place is bushy. They have killed 4 or 5 snakes in just one department in the university. 3 of these snakes are cobra, highly venomous snakes. You know, so you have snakes all over the place. I was driving within the university permanent side yesterday, and I saw some children trying to kill a snake, and they had killed the snake. I had to stop my car, and I came out to go and see the snake because I'm interested in looking at snakes to see whether it's a venomous snake or, you know. And this season there have been so many, you know, snakes all over the campus in different departments. In fact,
of the bushy nature
because of the bushy nature of the university. In one of the centers, they told us that they had to run out and abandon their office because it was invaded by snakes. So why is this? Because the university has no money. We don't have the funds to adequately take care of our environment. We have to squeeze ourselves here and there, and that is why we are hoping that the students can pay some form of charges or school fees, so that the university management can at least do something a little bit small. So please, I think our students will have to bear with us. The situation is critical, and that is why some of us have had to even intervene. And because we know that all of us are passing through a lot, that's why within 24 hours the university management responded to the plea of the students. This is the second time the university management is responding in days. You know, because when the school fees was increased, the students did not agree. The university reviewed it downwards.
And
again, the students still did not agree, and even came out to protest this time around yesterday. And the university management still have to review it downwards. So I think dialogue is key. It's better we engage ourselves in dialogue. The students in University of Jos and other universities where, you know, charges have been increased, it is better to dialogue with the university management than to go out on the street to protest. You may want to do a peaceful protest, but some hooligans, you know, some other people that are not part of you will enter there, and before you know there is commotion, there is problem. That's why I was telling the SUG president, University of Jos, I said, look, protest should be a last resort. Take note that if things are damaged, when you have a protest, you're going to have to pay. It doesn't matter.
We were victims of that when we were in school. There was a protest at some point, and then students actually had to be the ones to, you know, actually fix those things that had been damaged.
That's right. That's right. So there is no need to damage what you're going to use, because the students benefit from the infrastructure of the university as well as the staff. There is no need to damage them. So I think the students should just become because their matter is being addressed.
Prof, I'm sure you've not exhausted the challenges that the university is going
No,
through.
not at all.
Yes, but let's look at this. Let's look at this other angle of it. We have parents, of course. You are a parent, I'm sure,
Yes,
and then you have yours to school.
Absolutely.
So how is this whole thing affecting parents in terms of their efforts to fund education?
Do you know that the Unity schools increased their school fees from 45,000 to 100,000? Most of the universities in Nigeria have increased their school fees. And not only universities, other institutions. But salary has not increased. That's the problem.
So parents.
So parents are suffering. We as lecturers, we are parents, we also have children who are in our own universities and other universities across the country. Very few lecturers can afford to sponsor their children to school in private universities or go outside the country. So all of us are feeling the pains, and that is why we are being realistic. We know that the universities have problems, they have challenges, enormous challenges. Unijust, for example, is indebted, seriously indebted, and there is no way to clear this debt except by maybe paying it bit by bit from school fees, because like I said earlier on that the federal government for now is not ready to really intervene in this matter. So the parents are having to cope with paying increased school fees, increase everything. The market, you go there, prices of commodities have increased. Transport has increased. I mean, fuel has increased, diesel has increased, gas has increased, everything, firewood has increased, everything has increased, you know. Some of the streets that I used to find very busy, I'll say, what has happened here? They said, because of the hike in fuel price, we've had to park our cars. You know, a colleague was telling me how that he has to leave his car at home and take a key and go to one or two places from time to time because of the increased cost of living. And parents are feeling the pains. As we are talking right now, Kulbi and Mr. Doro, do you know that some of our students have not been able to resume?
Yes.
Because they can't
don't
pay.
want to come back to school.
I was in class yesterday. I was lecturing a 400 level class. There were just 12 students in that particular class for that course. Out of a class that should have about 60 students, only 12 of them could afford to attend. And out of the 12, I'm not sure up to 6 of them have been able to pay school fees for the new session. And it's really sad.
It's really sad.
And I had to engage in talking with them to encourage them, and instead of just going straight to deliver lecture and run away, I had to do some, you know, a little bit of motivational speeches, some encouragement, some inspirational talk, you know, and also just to encourage them. And some of I interacted with some students, and they said that some of our friends might not be able to come to resume because they can't pay the reviewed school fees. In fact, let me tell you something. University of Jos was paying 45,000. Even that one, some students cannot pay the 45,000. Very sad.
And now
it's
we are
twice.
forced to increase it. So what is going to happen? That's why we're calling on the government that this is the time people should feel the impact of the government. If we say we have a government in place, then what happens to the masses if they cannot afford to pay small charges in order to be educated? Because the reason why government is in place is to assist the citizens. I know the federal government has talked about loans and all that. What are the modalities in place, the mechanisms? When is it going to start? Has it started? You know, there have been several complaints even about you know, the repayment of the loans and, you know, other things. It is high time that the government pumps in money into education. Could be, I believe, that we have enough resources, financial resources in this country to make education free, even up to university level for first degree.
Yes.
The money we waste on frivolities, if we invested, we can sponsor so many thousands of students. Our universities can you know, run without even any school fees. Because from oil alone, I was listening to Mr. Doro while I was on the way coming on his analysis, and how much we realize from oil as a nation. It's a lot, and yet we waste a lot also on frivolities, and this crude is stolen also. They steal crude worth billions of naira. So we have a problem of priority in this country. Can you imagine what will happen if TET fund that receives just 2%, if we just increase it to 3%? Imagine what TET fund. Do you know that 80% of the permanent side of the University of Jos was built by TET fund?
In spite of the low budget.
In spite of the low budget, the low allocation to TET fund. 80 to 90% of University of Jos was built by third form. Just go to that permanent site. So the federal government needs to prioritize education. That is the place to pump in money, not in white elephant projects.
What should be done now, Prof? That's the question I want you to just tell us what should be done. Already you are pointing out some of the things, like saying the government should come in now, and we need the government now. But also, Prof, can you tell us what the future looks like if we have a number of students who, if nothing is done, and then will drop out? Because we've been blaming issues of illiteracy contributing to why some of these people are easily recruited into Boko Harams and all this, because they don't have that education stand to have resist or even refuse to be recruited into all of these things. Now, if you have another set of Nigerians now drop out, what the future looks like?
I don't want to be a prophet of doom. But without timely intervention, the future is bleak. Sometimes I drive around Jos and other cities and different parts of the country. I see hundreds and thousands of little children that are not even attending school. They call them almajiris in some parts. They call them area boys in some places. They call them whatever names they go by. We are sitting on a time bomb. If something urgent is not done, we have more than 10.7 million out-of-school children.
Then, now with this policy,
we are going to have even more. What is going to happen to us? Imagine how many armed robbers we are going to be having. Imagine how many more terrorists this is going to produce. Imagine how many kidnappers. Imagine how many Yahoo boys and Yahoo Plus boys. Imagine what is going to happen, how many more cultists we're going to be having in this country. That is why we need to do something very urgent. Not only will students drop out from our schools, even lecturers are dropping out.
That's an angle.
Lecturers are leaving the country. We are having brain drain. In my faculty alone, we have about 7 to 10 that have left within the last 1 or 2 years, and many more in other faculties. In the University of Jos and across the country, it's even worse. Go to University of Lagos, go to University of Ibadan. In fact, you go to some departments, about 50% of their lecturers have gone.
And they're going to not better countries, but African countries.
They're going to Niger, they're going to Gambia,
Kenya,
going to Kenya,
Ghana,
going to Tanzania, going to Uganda. I was in Uganda a few years ago.
Which are not richer than Nigeria.
Which are not richer than Nigeria. Do you know, when I was going to Uganda some years back, about 34 Nigerians, lecturers, were also coming to that university. The same university that I was going to, Kampala International University. About 34 within a period of 2-3 weeks. Imagine what will happen. How many of them are going to other universities across Africa and in other parts of the world? Some of them get opportunities and they go to maybe Europe, America, and other parts of the world. Why? Because do you know the salary of a Nigerian professor is not up to the salary of a junior lecturer in Uganda. The most junior lecturer in a Ugandan university earns a minimum of $1,600 US equivalent. There is no Nigerian professor that earns up to $1,000 in a month.
$1,000 is around 700,000.
There is no professor that earns that.
Oh my! Thank you.
Can you imagine?
Thank you, Prof.
So that is why we think that the government should declare a state of emergency in education. Otherwise, why would they go to Cameroon? Why would they go to Niger? Why would they go to Kenya and other smaller countries around? It is because we are not respected in this country.
We'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue. Imagine in a situation where not only students are dropping out, you even have lecturers also dropping out. Oh my, if nothing is done urgently, we are not prophets of doom, but of course something has to be done urgently. Stay with us. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, it's going to be that time which you will call and share your thoughts. Stay tuned.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead. How's your taxpayer mansion? How was your...
Please pay attention. It starts from the foundation. Everybody needs somebody. You turn a blind eye and care nothing less. Say it's just business, all about the money. You are so unbothered as long as they pay. Say it's just business, all about the money. You know they're on a fast lane, but you've got business to run. So you look away the other way.
It concerns you. It kill low, it kill dreams. It land people for jail. War against drug abuse.
Unity. Unity TV.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you...
Oh, thank you so much for staying tuned to this favorite dial of yours, Unity 93.3 FM and Unity TV. In the studio this morning is very, very hot because we are discussing on a topic that has to do with funding of education, the school fees hike and issues around aid. And we have Professor Bamayi, he's our guest today. And we'll just give him 1 to 5 minutes and let's hear what he has to say as regards the way forward, way out on this very issue. And then we'll just put on the studio line for you to call and make your contributions. We'll not take much time on this. And so, Prof, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kulbi and Mr. Doro, our listeners and viewers. Thank you for being part of this broadcast this morning. Education is the bedrock of national development. No nation advances beyond its level of educational advancement. So for any nation to be technologically advanced, to be industrialized, to be great, that nation must invest in education. Name any of the industrialized nations that we're talking about. Is it the United States? Go and see how much they spend, billions of dollars on education. Is it the UK? Is it Japan? Is it even China? Is it Germany or Russia? Name them. their budget for education alone is about the budget of the whole of Nigeria in a year. What they set aside for education alone in their countries, and that is why the matter of funding education is very critical. It is something I feel that the government should suspend, if possible, wasting time on other frivolities, other matters, and focus on education. When you focus on education, you will be improving other sectors. You'll be improving health. You'll be improving agriculture. You'll be improving even industrialization and all that. Because you go to those countries, the industrialists are produced from the universities, from the institutions. That's where the inventions take place, that make those nations to become advanced. But go to our universities today, what are we inventing? What are we producing? Not because we don't have the brains. It is because there is no funding. There is almost nothing that we cannot do in our universities and polytechnics in this country. But there is no funding. You come up with a fantastic idea, you come up with a prototype, and you will request for funds. The funds are not there. And that's why we have professors dying with fantastic ideas. A professor has produced a fantastic prototype of an automobile, of a vehicle, but he was not funded to produce it. Here in University of Jos, one of our colleagues had a prototype of the building materials that can be used to produce houses at very, very cheap, affordable rates. But he's not been funded. He has even built prototypes just to show the government that this is what can be done. And guess what he's producing his building materials from? From refuse dumps, from garbage that we throw away, leather bags that we throw away and all this. It is from there that they produce building materials that can build solid buildings. But nobody is interested in sponsoring such, because our politicians can afford to even import building materials from out of the country and build their mansions, and all that. So funding education is very critical. And in funding education, we have to ensure that our educational institutions have adequate infrastructure. Infrastructure in place in terms of offices, in terms of classrooms, in terms of lecture theaters, in terms of laboratories and studios, and all such that are needed by various fields of specialization in the university. Do you know that you go to some of our universities and students are doing practicals, they are using kerosene stuff. The Bunsen burners are not working. You go there, I was in a laboratory somewhere in the University of Jos where they have kept these gas cylinders for years. They have not used them. And the students are having to use electric stuff, And why? Because of lack of funding. The laboratories are dilapidated. You enter, no reagents, to use for practicals. You go to studios, it looks like somebody's room, not a studio, because there is no funding. You go, heads of departments will have to use their own money to run their departments because of lack of funding. I can tell you that authoritatively because I am a dean of a faculty. And since I became a dean, I use my own personal money to run my faculty. It is not supposed to be. Why? Because there is no funding. There is no adequate funding, by the government. In fact, a colleague of mine was saying, look, the days are coming when people will not agree to be heads of departments or deans because they're using their own money to run their departments, and faculties. I was speaking with a colleague from another university in the country, and the colleague said they asked me to go for a second term in office, and I said, I'm not going. One of you should go in for the second term because I'm tired of using my own money to run the faculty. So one of you come in and also do the same and see how it feels, because there is no funding. In those days, our universities were better funded, not adequately funded as they should be, but at least they were better funded. There is no dean in the University of Jos that has an official vehicle. When we were students, our heads of departments had official vehicles and drivers that drive them around. But now, even deans that are, supervising HODs, they don't have official vehicles. They have to use their own personal vehicles. They have to use their own money and put fuel in the vehicles and run university errands, at their own expense, because our institutions are not funded. You go, you need maybe money to do one or two things, get practicals for students. If you are waiting for money to come from the university, you might wait for a long time or wait forever, because that matter of funding has not been taken care of. So we have to fund infrastructure in our universities. We have to fund, we have to take care of the staff in terms of remuneration, in terms of allowances. How can it be that a street cleaner in Kuwait earns more than a Nigerian professor? A person who sweeps the street of Kuwait or Dubai can pay 1-2 Nigerian professor salaries. They ride better cars, brand new cars, what the Nigerians call TALLATA. Chassis is what they use. There is no Nigerian professor that can afford to buy that kind of car. All we can afford to buy is second-hand, third-hand vehicles. They bring them from Cotonou and all these. You get it and you say you're riding a new car.
You might even end up buying a used car.
Yes.
You might end up even buying a second car. Used by the street cleaner in one of the countries you talked about. As a Nigerian professor in
very right. Because they have a better economy. They are better funded. So we have to take care of the staff. In addition to the students. We have to take care of the students. In these countries, they give scholarship. They give a lot of scholarship to their students. So the students don't feel the pains of passing through a university or polytechnic, because their governments adequately take care of them. Okay. And I can share experiences with you. I lectured in Malaysia. My students have never, even for one day, complained about finances or complained about not having food or anything, because they are more than adequately taken care of. And not only are they taken care of as students, by the time they are graduating, the jobs are already waiting for them.
Yes.
The jobs are there waiting for them. Because they have a very planned and organized setup.
And they graduate already mentally equipped for the challenges out there.
Fantastically mentally balanced graduates that have not been harassed like our own, By the time they are graduating, they have been traumatized, they have been harassed, they have been passed through so many things, Okay. So there is need for improvement of funding of education in this country, especially universities, but at all levels, because, our public primary schools are gone. Public secondary schools are gone. It's only the public universities that are struggling to survive. We hope that they will not also be gone.
Oh, thank you very much. Our studio line is now on. You can call us if you want. It's 070-3235-3315. When you call, tell us your name and where you're calling us from, and then go straight. In less than a minute, you make your points. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Kubi.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Prof.
Good morning.
In fact, Prof, you have made my day today.
Thank you.
So happy that you can be able to speak the reality. There's nothing like to say the truth.
Thank you.
You see, in this platform, I'm always telling people that you can never hide the truth. The moon and the light. You can never. That is it. Anyhow, come rain, come sun, truth must be said.
Yes.
Prof, keep it on. May God bless you. Say the truth.
Amen.
And you see, we are talking about the open of university.
Yes.
Secondary school and primary, they never join you. You see, many people will now going to drop out of billions of not even millions, because I say million now, will be like say I'm abusing the school. Many people, many students are going to drop. Some parents are start crying now. School now is double, primary, private, secondary, uni, all of them, they have double it. So how will parents survive? Somebody who don't have a 1,000 naira to buy a movie of Gary, how you expect you to pay 200,000 for a child's school fees?
So
you see that kind of thing? Now you shall come. As I told you about weekends, you know what is happening. As Prof said that he's not a prophet of doom. Me, likewise, I myself, I'm not a prophet of doom, because Time shall come if government does not take priority to take care of this country. Time shall come when we go see them for road here. But honestly, with their siren, you go see everybody go gather to stone them. If they doesn't take proactive now,
thank you.
Stop this thing, because now Yahoo Plus, we both ritually so many things. A friend will kill his friend because a plate of rice in Lagos. This is just the beginning.
Oh, thank you. By the way,
help our country.
By the way, who is
I
with
told
us?
this story when I was in Dubai, how it was.
Yes.
Dubai, this type of thing doesn't happen. I have been in Dubai. When Dubai was 5 states. Thank you. God bless you. I'm ready.
Are we on with Mr. Barnabas Kingsley? I guess that's Mr. Barnabas Kingsley calling from Terminus there. Yes, thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Goodby.
Hello, good morning.
And the guests in the studio.
Oh, thank you very much.
Good morning, this is Adeomi calling from Bokiro.
Okay, Adeomi, thank you. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much, sir. So, you see, what I want to say is this. What is this administration want the masses to benefit from? They promise us the new hope.
Yes.
So we are saying that all hope is about to be lost.
Yes.
Because you see people, even ordinary, but you see people being bad. They are being put in the foot of cars to come to town because they lack transport fare.
Okay.
And looking at the university to even govern itself independently, so that the students should be dropped out. Then where are we going in this nation?
Yes.
You say they called the part administration, they said President Buhari that he is slow. He is slow. We don't know that he still has the masses at heart.
Okay.
You see, you cannot say you want to set the ground running and continue to make Nigerians suffer.
All right.
Please, I want to apologize and please this present administration to forgive us if we have sinned or pity us. But Nigerians are passing through a lot. Please let them allow the poor to preach. Let them don't suffocate the poor.
All right.
Please, I pray God give them the wisdom. But this subsidy, no country in the world that is not subsidizing one thing for the masses.
Thank you very much, Adeomi.
Security challenges and all forms of things. Please, the government should have a rethink on this issue of university and education, because at least it's supposed to be part of their priority.
Thank you.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, our listener and our viewer. We just want to beg, stay tuned with us. We'll be right back. We have a guest in the studio. We just want to let him to have his breath. Sit down and catch his breath, and then the discussion continue. We just apologize. Just stay tuned with us. We'll be right back.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead. How's your taxpayer mansion? How was your...
Unity TV.
Unity.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again.
Thank you so much for giving us your time, of course, community of intelligent listeners and viewers. And now we are back on air with the discussion. And so we are privileged also to have in the studio, Prof has been in, Professor Bamayi, and we've been joined by a PPRO officer, Alfred, is in the studio. We just let him make comments concerning his visit. Sometimes they say August visit. Well, August visit for good. So, officer, let's hear from you. What informed this visit?
Okay, I decided to crash into the program today.
Yes.
Because we had a meeting with the student of University of Jos yesterday with the Commissioner of Police, and it was a very good meeting. Where they gave us all their pains and why they had to go on that particular protest yesterday. which, though they didn't follow the proper route as regards security,
staging.
But we were informed and we came and we provide them security, the needed security that they need, and they had their protests, and the whole world heard their plea. I was very happy when I was coming. I was listening to Prof talk, and Prof, sir, everything you said was about 98% of what the student complained about in the office of the Commissioner of Police. But we, on our own part, on the side of the security, we just want to let them know, you know, we are in perilous times. There are certain persons who may want to take advantage of the situation of their protest.
Like Prof rightly said.
Yes, and the pain that they are going through. You know, even yesterday I had to do a press release, trying to see how we can maybe pacify them and plead with them to let them know that their voices have been heard. If you did a protest yesterday, or you had a protest yesterday, and the person of the Commissioner of Police invited you to his office, that is to tell you that you have been heard. You know, and by the grace of God, I would even like to, the CP told them yesterday that he had a chat with the Plateau State government, who also agreed and said that he is aware of what is happening, and that we should do what we can to help salvage the situation, which was what prompted the Commissioner of Police to meet with them. While we were even talking, and luckily for them, the Deputy Vice Chancellor walked in to the office of the Commissioner of Police, just to let this student know that people are aware of their plight. Personally, I have two relatives that I cater for their university fees with a meager salary. Everything has gone up. Now they are resuming. I have my own children to pay their school fees. I have a retired father to take care of. So there are a lot of things that everybody is passing through. But just the university will not just sit down idly by and just watch everything to collapse. Now, students, what do we do? And they came out with a solution. If you know you cannot meet up at this point in time, you can toe the line of dialogue. Let's not take it and give hoodlums the opportunity to take advantage of the situation and cause chaos to the fragile peace that we are having on the plateau. If I have my way, I'll just beg them to, your voices have been heard. Leave this protesting. Go back to your fathers who are the lecturers and the professors. Talk to them. Let all of you come to, and I was even made to understand that in the whole federation, that University of Jos have one of the cheapest rates as regards all this increase that they are doing. So the children should check their facts and actually see what the university is doing for them. We on our own, we just want to beg them. We are pleading with them. Stay away from the roads. Instead, toe the line of violence. The students should also allow their student union government. We have been hearing all kinds of rumors. They will betray us. It's not today we hear that in leadership. It's all about leadership. And if you are student union, if you are in the student union government, you should know that you will get one of these accusations from time to time. But it still behoves on you to come out and also tell your fellow students that this is where we are. It's all about communication. And if the right communication is done, we'll go a long way.
Officer, please, what is the situation like at the moment? You're just coming in from, the Jos metropolis. You know how this is. Can you just tell us, how is it like at the moment?
Presently, we have what we call relative peace on the plateau. All the police and other security agencies are doing all they can to maintain this particular peace. Me being here today is also maintaining the peace on the plateau by letting my students know that if we go out like this, people are hungry. Criminals want to take advantage of the situation. Let's not block the highway, because for what you are protesting, another woman is going to the market to go and sell tomato. So if you block the highway for that woman, is that a protest? That is you punishing other children who will eat and who their school fees will be paid as a result of their mother going to the market or their fathers going to the office. So we want them to just be calm.
All right. Thank you very much. We pick maybe one or two more calls.
Good morning, Prof. Good morning, my brother and student. My name is Comrade Masu Patrick Choreographer. I'm calling from Blue GC School here in Anglo-Jos.
It's good to have you.
Well, you see, what we are facing today in Nigeria is that federal government issued directives, the vice chancellors, rectors, provost don't want to pay it because all these appointments we have done based on political appointment, not on merit. Because I see no reason why vice chancellors, head of department will sit down and say, Senate, look, in those days, a policy has been made. And it is implementation of it. It must follow the sequence. Allow the students to follow their normal sequence. Why must this continue increasing school fees? When you attend, many 80% of all these are big top shops in the schools. Whether professor, whether it's many of them went through scholarship. Now you went through scholarship, you didn't know, your parents didn't pay shishi, kobo, and now you are coming to subject students to a very hard time, which is not healthy. We have to be very careful because the way we are moving is not healthy for this country. Education is one of the dividends of democracy. We, a state or a country, fail to give the dividends of democracy to the students, the country is finished. Education is basis. I say must free to everybody. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Prof, we'll just let you make a call there. We have just this. But
he has said something important that probably we should respond to. The vice chancellors are forced to increase fees. I've told you, Unijos was without electricity for 2 months.
For 2 months.
Is the VC going to pay from his pocket? He doesn't have the money, to pay. As I'm talking right now, my vice chancellor is moving about trying to source for money for the university, among other things. And we try to do some collaboration, try to get in some bodies, organizations, here and there. So we are all feeling the pains. I feel the pains as a lecturer. And I am a parent also. Like I told the SUG president, we have to meet somewhere. You have to make some sacrifice, give and take. The university will make some sacrifice, give and take, and we meet in the middle. You cannot say that there should be no increase at all. Then the university will collapse.
Okay,
there won't be any university. My final word is an appeal to our students. Please calm down, like the PPRO has said. Your matter is being addressed by the university. The university has even responded within 24 hours. Please employ dialogue. Leave the streets. Don't be violent. Don't even protest. Don't even do any peaceful protest. Please remain calm, remain peaceful. And by God's grace, we're going to overcome this challenge.
I say amen to that. PPRO?
Yes, I say amen to that too. And I'll still reiterate what he has just said. Let's be peaceful. Let's be calm. Let's know that other people, other law-abiding citizens of Nigeria are trying to make a good living. And let's not be the tool through which that will be hindered. So the students should go back to the part of dialogue, meet with the university management, and I can assure you we'll get over this.
Well, thank you very much for being in the studio, just so to address this issue at the moment.
You're welcome.
Prof, it's good to have you in the studio.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. Our viewer and our listener, thank you so much for being there. Of course, we cannot afford to jeopardize the relative peace that we have on the plateau. And that is not to say you will not, to the part of dialogue. And I'm sure we'll get over this. Like Prof had said a prayer, we'll get over it. Let's do the needful. And thank you so much for being with us. From me, Beatrice Adamuizi, that's all for today's editions. Let's meet at the other end of it. Bye-bye.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long since you've been here. You had me thinking you were dead.